Lorenzo Rojas Bracho. I'm the Marine Mammal Research and Conservation Coordinator at the National Institute of Ecology. Our main work deals right now with Vaquita research and conservation, and we do work with other marine mammal species, mainly cetaceans, in the Gulf of California and the west coast of Baja.
Could you explain the problem that's led to the Vaquita divides over the years when you first started studying?
Yeah, when I started studying, the main issue was first recognizing that Vaquita existed. Many people denied the existence of this species. And the other big issue was if it was bycatch, what really was the threat for Vaquita, or if it was something else. And that something else mainly was, for many, or still for many people, is the lack of flow of the Colorado River that used to flow to the upper Gulf, but it's been diverted for agriculture and urban use, mainly in the U.S., but also in Mexico, at the Mexicali Valley. And when we started, we had very little info really on Vaquita. We didn't know how big the population was. We didn't know many things certainly about their genetics or life history. Through time, papers were published, and I think our main collaboration to the Vaquita issue was organizing the CIRVA, which is International Committee for the Recovery of Vaquita. And many of the colleagues are here in the crews that form part of that committee, like Barb Taylor, Jerry Barlow, Tim Jarrett, they will be here, and Armando Jaramillo and others. And so I started first trying to get an idea of the population size doing a genetic approach. Most of the platforms that tried to do or estimate population size of Vaquita had failed, like aerial surveys and other type of sailboats and boats. And while I was doing my PhD, there was the first survey in this David Starr Jordan, the boat that we have here. And they were lucky a few days, so they decided to do some Vaquita transects. And then it was clear that the Jordan was kind of the proper platform to do that. So years later, after a discussion in the recovery team, we decided to make another survey and use other platforms. So we used 3 boats, and that became Armando's thesis, master thesis. And then we estimated there were less than 600 Vaquitas, and from there we started working on risk factors. And after looking at all the oceanographic information and getting advice from oceanographers that had experience in the upper Gulf, it was clear to us and to the committee, and probably clear to everybody that deals and knows about marine mammals, that it's not the Colorado River, the force that would drive Vaquita to extinction. There's a paradox here, because it is one of the most productive areas at the same latitude worldwide. So in terms of nutrient concentrations and productivity in general, it's an intense area. And also because there's no river, there's no agent to bring many pollutants. So it turns out that Vaquita has one of the cleanest blubbers, or probably the cleanest blubber from any marine mammal worldwide. Which pollution was also mentioned at some point as one of the threats for Vaquita. And what we know, and I can easily see that, is that bycatch is the main issue. I had like 45 specimens of Vaquita that I used for our genetic analysis, and all of them were recovered from Gilland. So it was really clear to me and to many people that it was bycatch, the main issue. And I thought, like, Mexico has a very clean history, marine mammal conservation. I think gray whales recovered, and Mexico played a critical role by naming the breeding lagoons as marine protected areas. And I thought, well, if we've done that, we can do Vaquita as well. And I'm a very Mexican person in terms of how I like my country. And I thought, well, this is a Mexican species. This is something that we cannot lose. And I want to do something for my country. The way I can do it is in biology. That's my expertise. So I started working. Hasn't been that easy in many issues. But I think we had very good scientific background or support from many colleagues worldwide. And that has helped us a lot to bring the issue I think the first thing we did, is Vaquita was kind of a lost case for many. And I remember when I started working Vaquita, I talked to NGOs, and everybody said, "No, Lorenzo, that's a lost case. You just forget about it." And I still insisted. And basically, I think one of the main things we did was brought Vaquita back to life and convinced many people that it was not a lost case. What I call the Baiji paradox. One species go extinct to save another species. So the message of the Baiji was that they do go extinct. I know Vaquita is not in the best situation right now, but I've been fighting for this so many years that I've always been optimistic. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't have my ups and downs, but I mean, average, I'm an optimistic person, and I'm optimistic with Vaquita. And I'm more optimistic now than I've ever been before. I mean, it's on June 5, President Calderon gave a speech on that's International Day for Environment or something like that, and he mentioned Vaquita. He mentioned three things. One of those three things was Vaquita, together with climate change, I think water, and that had never happened before. We have a minister in environment that is really dedicated and has considered Vaquita one of the main issues and made it one of his priorities. And we're in good talks with fisheries authorities. That never happened. We have a very good relation with the state government of Baja California, which was not the case in terms of Vaquita a few years ago. Now we had the governor and the head of the Ministry of Environment for the state of Baja, very intense and very good. You can see as you drive into San Felipe, you'll see two signs, huge signs. And it's not a Coca-Cola sign, it's Salvemos a la Vaquita. And this in San Felipe. I mean, this is an important thing. And we have advertisements in TV, radio. So if I see all these things, I say I'm happy, I'm optimistic, I could say I'm proud that during all these 11 years we kept Vaquita alive, and now there's a bunch of people helping and doing important things. So I'm optimistic. How the results are going to be at the end, I'm not so sure, but I think this is one of the, if you get into these problems, you better be an optimistic, and I'm happy with this, and I'm happy that it might help other populations in other parts of the world.
So all this effort, so difficult to find such shy animals, years of research, bringing all these people together, trying to solve the conservation topics. So how do you feel when you actually see a Vaquita? What does it make you feel like?
Cry. The first time was incredible. And every time you see it, it's still, you feel your heart, but it's something that I don't know how to describe it. It's intense.
It must feel like a Christmas gift, or it just must feel good that they're still there.
Yeah, I remember not long ago, Armando came with his graph and said, "Look, Lorenzo, we have 0 detections." Acoustic detections. He was like, "Oh Jesus! Are they still there? Have we lost it already?" Then Armando go back and do more efforts. He called me and said, "Lorenzo, we have a Vaquita." It's a special kind of emotion that I still have it. If I see a blue whale, it's always like, oh, it's a huge animal. It's always very impressive, but it's always. It's a Christmas present, and it's not easy to see. The first time I saw them really close and I could see the little face coming out of the water, that was, I think, one of the top moments in my life.